Hello. I think I am live. Oh. Yes, I think I am live. Okay. Hi, everyone. Let me just find the questions, comments. Okay. Cool. So I was told the best practice is for me to talk a little bit as people start to join. And I think this is like a common internet thing to talk to your computer, but I realized that I don't have an internet presence. So maybe this is the beginning of me beginning a journey as a YouTuber or an Instagram influencer. But thank you all for joining, for watching. I will just chat for a few minutes while people start to join, and then I will read for about 15 minutes, and then we'll do a Q&A, and I'm happy to answer any questions about my work. Today, I am wearing my pajamas. These are some of my favorite pair of pajamas. They're from Target, where all good pajamas come from. I think a lot of the poems that I have written, I don't know if they've been written in these pajamas, but they've certainly been written in pajamas. I think it's important. I don't know, something I've been thinking about recently has been rest and cultivating a sense of ease. And I find that, I don't know, before the past few months, I was very intense in my writing. And I think I put a lot of demands on myself to produce work. Which, I don't know, I think in some ways is good. It's good to have deadlines, but I'm finding that as I focus on cultivating rest and more time in my pajamas and places of softness and ease, that I'm able to make work that is like more interesting to me, more dynamic, maybe more vulnerable, more honest, because I feel like I'm giving the words and the ideas time and space to unfold. So that's been cool. What else? What else can I talk about? Something I've been finding inspiring. I was trying to think about my inspirations because I feel like that's a common question. And something I've been finding really inspiring to my work has been friendship. And I'm just realizing how grateful I am for the friendships that I have cultivated, that nurture me and nourish me, and the conversations I get to participate in, both in the literary sense, through exchanging work with friends, or I don't know, just in every sense, in the conversational sense of being in community with people. I'm really inspired by, I don't know if inspiration is so much there's certain topics that inspire me so much as like inspiration as a mode of receptivity. And when I am able to access that mode, I find myself wanting to respond thoughtfully, artistically to question. I find myself wanting to create, I guess, to make things. So I think I've riffed enough. Maybe not enough, but I will go ahead and introduce myself and start reading poems. So my name is Megan Pinto. I am a writer. I live in Brooklyn. I'm originally from North Carolina. I'm working on, I might be close to finish. I don't know. I'm working on my full-length manuscript, currently titled, well, maybe I'll save that. I am working on my full-length manuscript, and the themes have to do with addiction, Catholicism, obsession. There's a lot about the body, about how trauma manifests and lives in the body. And some of the poems I'll read today deal with that. Yeah, so I guess let's get started with poems, because that's why we're here. So this first, I have a few poems that I selected to share. I won't preface every poem, but I will say, starting out, this first poem I'll read deals with mental. I read a bit about mental illness. My father went through a major depressive episode during COVID. So this poem I'm going to read deals a little bit with that, and it also deals with the images of mental illness that I tend to encounter living in New York, which I think every New Yorker experiences, encounters. Yeah, I'll start reading. Witness. At the intersection of Flatbush and Church Ave, the wind kicks up swirls of trash. Outside my building, a woman hurls a bag of ice at the sidewalk, hurls it and laughs. It's the middle of summer. There are taco trucks and mango carts and ice cream cones and smoked nuts. Across the street, a man might jump. We don't know. He's on the roof of that apartment now. People on the sidewalk look up, stare. A comedy is a comedy when we change, but tragedy is when we stay the same. In an acting class, I learned to hold space. For months, we practiced looking into the eyes of another without looking away. Often, when laughter faded, a flush of tears like a shock of rain came. And lately, after a long day, I ride the train to Coney and sit at the end of the pier. Always the ocean moves beneath me as if to say, remain. My mother says forgiveness won't bring a dead man back. She used to say this matter of fact whenever I had done something dumb, like spill my drink on the carpet. But this Christmas, standing outside the ER, my father triple masked and staring at us through the glass, waiting for his name to be called. Of perseveration, doctors describe a mind on high alert, a warning, 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 with its red siren lights. Like most ailments, it could improve with sleep. Like most wounds, the mind burrows the wound in deep. I want to draw a single line connecting my father's illness to points in time, an old urge for narrative cohesion. Or did I mean reason? Once I saw a woman take a shit on the E-train inside her jeans. She looked so satisfied, as if by just closing her eyes she had entered a place of her own making. Inside the ER, my father presented as calm, but he left a bed stained with blood from the skin he peeled off with his nails. And I could not accept his illness. I tried to reason with him each time, to take the pill, to eat the food, to just try. At the play's end, it was Oedipus alone, who did not know himself. And this next poem that I'll read, there's a definition of trauma within the poem, and it comes from this wonderful documentary called The Wisdom of Trauma, which I recommend you check out if you're interested. So this poem is titled, "A Poem is a Landscape of the Mind." It was the winter of my life. Afternoons, I watched light fade from brownstones. I took long, aimless walks by the water. Each day, more leaves fell. The starkness of trees nearing winter, their sheer nakedness. My friend called to tell me about a neighbor who cornered her in the stairwell and kissed her. She described standing perfectly still. The shape of the lake nearing dusk, its symmetrical, man-made enclosures. Rumi speaks of sorrow as a clearing of leaves, making space for joy, but what to do with rage and in such a desolate landscape? Walking back to my car from the library, a stack of books piled high in front of me, I was stopped by a parked SUV filled with laughing men. They had parked in front of my, how did they know, car. They looked at me and laughed uproariously and continued to laugh as the man in the driver's seat got out. I don't remember what he said or what I said, except I used the word please. Consider the accrual of knowledge. There are facts, like the mechanics of throwing a punch, how abdominals contract, twisting the torso, powering the shoulder, arms extending, knuckles bursting skin, such force, a fire from within. And then there is the relationship to one's own authority. You have to decide you'll win, said a stranger at the boxing ring, wrapping his hands. Each time I sparred, I choked. My friend says, you go through life thinking you're a person, then learning just how many people see you as an object, a thing that placates or slakes. I quiet my mind with the sight of the lake. Trauma is not the event itself, but the body's learned response. When identifying domestic violence, professionals look for signs like a fist through a wall, a chair with 3 legs instead of 4, the message being, next time, this could be you, the you being me, when I circled 37 out of 50 red flags on the Stop Domestic Violence pamphlet, when I dialed the 1-800 number. Growing up, I was fluent in multiplication tables, conversational in Spanish, an expressive modern dancer, and none of it saved me. In therapy, I study my enclosures, the small dark spaces of my mind. Imagine those photos of abandoned subway lines, whole networks, once pulsing, now disjointed. I practice telling myself, you are not your thoughts, but the watcher of your thoughts, the watcher watching over you. When I look out at the trees nearing winter, I see people, faceless people, wringing their hands, contorting their bodies in supplication, in need. Bloodshot. The doctor traces my orbital bone with her finger, asks, who do you call when you're scared? The skin on my face, dry. A woman passing by tells her companion, you know, my brain has been damaged. I can't remember what I've said. I asked a shaman to retrieve lost parts of my soul, but the shaman said no, that my soul is intact, just enmeshed. On the subway, a man stands above me, clenching and unclenching my throat. Who will be harmed, and when? I smile, I lock eyes with a stranger, giving my name away. Deep sorrow is cyclical, like seasons of harsh rain, but also genetic. Growing up, my mother scrubbed the floors each day until they shone. But most days, making my bed is a futile task. Most nights, I push a pile of laundry to one side, the clothes cradling my back. People always say you'll know love when you find it. But how can I describe my God-sized hole, how it widens with each breath? Falling. Snow is falling to the earth, though here where I live, it is spring. Outside my window, a man pushes his bike across ice. I think I know loneliness, but then I feel it again, sharp like a knife that enters me, clean. I have never been stabbed, but once I came close. On the subway at night, a man showed me his knife to tease me. He reached for my bag, he reached for my hair. I pretended he was not there, though I held my backpack to my chest like a shield. In Prague, there are no fences at the ends of cliffs or the tops of hills. Drunk at the edge of a beer garden at night, I let my feet dangle in the air. Then my calves, then my thighs. It was sensational to look down over the Vltava, cutting through the city at night, lights on the castle, every small, winding street. I've loved men who bit me, my body in their mouths. How many times have I seen the underlayers of my skin? In my former life, I was an octopus. Before that, a priest. In this life, I ride the elevator up and down and up again so that my whole body can feel the feeling of falling. It's true when you fall. The heart rises physically into the throat as if to counter the doomed body. Cityscapes. There are people in this world so desperate for connection, they would try anyone. I went to see a psychic about my broken heart. She told me I pick men who are wounded just like me, but show pain differently, their rage turned out instead of in. When I played with Barbies, I often sent them into space or some other dark, remote place resembling my mind. Their open-faced dollhouse made me cry. Each time I made the dolls fall off the roof, their hard bodies clattering back into this life. Yes, I suffer from romantic thoughts. Sometimes I think suffering is the measure of my devotion. Sometimes not. If I could slice an apartment building dollhouse style, peel off its street-side face, there would be whole realms of knowing. Instead, I count bookshelves and pothos that crowd each sill. It takes so much to feel safe in the world. Or is that just me? I struggle with intimacy, always massaging the music to get my feelings just right. Consider the nursing home tabs I've kept open for my mother, her bulbous cancer, like wallpaper peeling to reveal chipping paint. On the subway, I look to strangers and wonder if one of them could want me. Then the sudden screech of metal upon metal returns me to my Google Doc, where I write down my thoughts. Consider the undulating rhythm of the city, each stop and start and sudden halt. Consider the way light breaks across the East River at dusk, where love does not so much come to me as move through me. And this will be my last poem for today. And I wrote this poem while I'm still reading this book called The Human Cosmos, which maps sort of like the evolution of humans and the relationship humans have had with the cosmos throughout civilization. So this poem is titled Cosmology. Like most people in the city, I see what I have always seen. The sky is a place with few stars, light, pollution, and the cosmic drift of satellites in motion. Not to mention space junk, once important, now forgotten. Over a glass of wine, my date asks if I would like to take a trip to space. I think back to last summer. Late nights by the river, watching the full moon orchestrate a swelling of tide. The dock's spindly legs all but disappearing into that primordial darkness. No need to explain it. No light except my cracked phone screen, sometimes a beacon, rattling with news of the world. How long and how far have I searched for my God? In school each week, we prayed in pews, and I closed my eyes so tight I saw bursts of color, phantasms of light. There's a word for this. But language often evades me, my dumb mouth dry. Concerning space debris, there are scientists in motion to capture, melt, deorbit, and magnetically claw their way toward a cleaner sky. I think of the caves of Lascaux, where the celestial bulls are rendered as if in motion, the swift lines of their legs thinning into ether. Though a recent installation of air conditioning is causing an overgrowth of black mold to overtake the walls, and are we always just exchanging one technology for another? The artists of Lascaux were capturing not just the mating of animals, but the shifting patterns of the stars, no cynicism. And I think of the knowingness within my heart each time I am faced with God's unspeakable face. Thank you. Thank you all so much for being here. I am happy to take a few questions if there are any. Let me see. Oh, thank you. That's so kind. It's really so, such an honor to have people choose to spend their time with me this evening. So thank you all. While we're waiting for questions, SJ had asked that suggested that I sort of think about what I'm reading right now, and I'm always happy to talk about what I'm reading. I've just started Good Boys by Megan Fernandez. It's a Tin House book, and it's so good. I highly recommend. I'm really excited to spend some time with it. And I've also been rereading Please Bury Me in This by Alison Bennis White. I first read this book, I think when it first came out, maybe like 2017, 2018. And I was so struck by the use of fragment, and both as a way to contain narrative, but then also to allow in so much mystery and the use of white space. So those are two books that I'm really enjoying right now. And I'm also happy to talk about my process a little. So I took a class, so I talked a little bit about when I was riffing on putting pressure on myself to produce, and this idea of a poem assembly line that I'm the poetry assembly line, which is not the way, poems should not come out of an assembly line. But I took a wonderful class with Myung-Mi Kim that Sarah M. Sala organized for office hours, which you should all check out. And Myung-Mi Kim talked a lot about like living with our fragments, the fragments that we write down in notebooks, and also what does it mean to be done? Like, what does it mean to be done with a poem? And it was really liberating to just give myself the freedom to be able to enjoy the drafts, the fragments, the language that sort of like comes to you, the music of it, and not try to force any sort of semantic sense on it, but to let it come. So to that point, I've started just like, I'll collect a bunch of material and then I'll tape it to my wall, and I'll leave it there for months. And for months I'll be like, oh, this is a lot of like rambling. I really like to indulge myself. And then I don't know, like 2 or 3 months later, after just sort of casually, not even really reading it, but maybe just seeing the shape of the fragments that they're making, and somehow, I guess, reading it a little, I'll look at it one day and I'll be like, oh, I kind of see a draft of a poem. Like, I see some connections that I'm not forcing. So that's how I drafted Cityscapes, the second to last poem that I read. So I'm very interested in process. I have a question. Has COVID changed your writing process, if at all? I think COVID has let me explore my writing process. I think that pre-COVID, I was spending a lot of energy socializing and a lot of energy going out, and that's wonderful, and that's an amazing part of New York City. But I was definitely drained, and COVID has allowed me to pay attention to my rhythms more, just as a human being, and my need for rest. And because for a long time, there was nothing else to do except stay indoors or go to the park, I was really able to just sort of accept my own internal rhythms of when I do have more energy or when I actually need to rest and not write. So I think in some ways COVID has really allowed me to see myself and my process more clearly, which I'm grateful for that. I think in some ways it's helped me grow a lot as a writer and an artist. The name of the second book to the chat. The second book, was that the book about, I can add that. I think that was the one about the cosmos. So it's called The Human Cosmos. And I've added that to the chat. Great. I'm trying to think if there's anything else I should say or answer before we depart. Oh yes, please bury me in this. Thank you. Yeah, I think that's it for me tonight. Thank you all again so much. It means so much to me to spend this time with you, and I really appreciate you holding space for me to share my work. So with that, I wish you all a very good evening, and I hope you encounter lots of beautiful language and inspiration this week. So see you all soon.